Hi, this is Chrissie with BeautifulCreatives.com. I put out new content every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Thank you for joining me for another Cuppa Chat. Today's cup of choice is a Dutch Brothers blended Kokomo. Now, I might sound like I'm a Dutch Brothers advertisement. I really am not. However, I chose to have another Kokomo for this Cuppa Chat because this will be the last Dutch Brothers that I will be having for quite a while. Now, for those of you who watched my Mixed Media with Chrissie B video on Thursday, you'll know that I had gotten a diagnosis this week that I was actually not quite ready for. And let me give you some history. I am a pretty anxious person. I've been anxious for most of my life. You could call me a little OCD as well. Probably not stereotypically OCD, but there are some things that really drive me bananas that I cannot relax in any way, shape, or form if one of these things happen. Kind of like if I see a picture on the wall crooked, it drives me bananas, and I cannot like relax until it is fixed. So I do have like weird little things that I do, which I'm sure that a lot of you do as well. Well, about 6 months ago, I started to experience some really severe anxiety, and actually it had been happening for quite a few years. About 3 years ago, let's go back, shall we? About 4 years ago, I had gastric bypass surgery. I know, looking at me, that might be very surprising because I am probably not the poster child for gastric bypass surgery in any way, shape, or form. However, my surgery went well. However, I was one of those bizarre people that I was losing weight really well for about 6 months before my surgery. 6 months before my surgery, I actually went into the bariatric program, and they did a bunch of tests, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to do to basically get your insurance to approve the surgery. And one of the things that the bariatric center that I had gone through did was a lot of lab tests, a lot of blood tests, a lot of things that they were testing to see if like different hormone balances were correct and if I had different vitamin deficiencies of any kind. And one of the things that they were able to diagnose really, really quickly was that I had hypothyroid disease, which means my thyroid is really slow, and I have a tendency to gain weight rather easily, and losing weight is really, really difficult for me. So they put me on like a thyroid replacement, which was awesome because, you know, before this, I had been very active all the time. I'd always exercised, I'd always done lots of fitness, and I was just very physical. I always ate really well, a lot of fruits and vegetables and lean proteins. That was never the problem. I couldn't figure out what the problem was. I just knew that for whatever reason, I just was not. It took me forever to lose weight. So they put me on thyroid medicine, and my weight started to like fall off. It was amazing. Like, it was a miracle drug. I couldn't believe that I had gone so long before I realized that, you know, I was hypothyroid. I had a hypothyroid. When I finally came to the day that I was supposed to have my gastric bypass surgery, I was about 50 pounds less than where I started at, which was awesome. Well, I was one of those weird people who has gastric bypass and then all of a sudden your weight loss completely like stops. And it didn't completely stop, but it just started to go so slow. As soon as I had gastric bypass surgery, it was like every single pound was just so painful to get off. It was so slow. It was a very hard process. And I also had a lot of difficulties with eating, a lot of difficulties with drinking. Nothing really agreed with me. Everything that I ate or drank made me feel really sick. So I right away knew that I should not have done gastric bypass surgery. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20, and I had to figure out how to like then live with this body that was going to basically be, you know, sabotage my weight loss efforts, because I didn't necessarily want to be skinny, although that would be nice. I really wanted to be healthy, and I wanted to be active, and I wanted my body to be able to like carry me through all of the different dreams and lifestyle things that I wanted to do. And I was really concerned that at the weight that I was, even though I didn't have any health problems and I was still really super healthy, I felt like at some point it would catch up to me and I would really regret not having taken action sooner. So 8 months, 9 months after my gastric bypass surgery, I was having a lot of problems with eating. Food was not my friend. I couldn't really eat anything without feeling sick or having severe pain, or I knew something was wrong, but I didn't really know what. And I just, you know, when I spoke to my team, my medical team, they kept saying, well, you know, this might just be your new norm. You're just gonna have to figure out how to deal with this. This is just the way it's gonna be for you forever. And it just kind of made me really regret the gastric bypass and And it just made me regret it more and more and more. And I thought, God, if money were no object, it would be so awesome if I can go back and have the whole process reversed, because I was losing weight so well. And now I, one, am not only not losing weight, but I'm in pain all the time, and I feel sick all the time. And I'm having so many issues with just my digestion. And I was just really, I was over it. I was really over it and wanted to completely rewind the clock and not do it any longer. I wanted to jump off of this crazy train is what I was trying to do. Well, 8 months after surgery, 9 months after surgery, I don't remember when, but I started to have some really severe abdominal pains, and they felt like contractions. I've never had children before, but you know, I have a lot of friends who have children, and listening to their delivery stories and the way that it's described contractions, that's what I felt like. I felt like I had like waves of like severe tightness and pain, and it was just really, really bad. The pain ended up getting so bad in this one day that I finally said to my husband, Jason, you're gonna have to take me to the emergency room. Now in my world, I work at a hospital, but I cannot stand hospitals. So hospitals really kind of freak me out. The smell of hospitals, the vibe of hospitals, the lights of hospitals, and I don't really get along. I work at a hospital, but I pretend I don't work at a hospital, if that makes any sense. So for me to tell my husband, okay, Jason, you're gonna have to take me to the emergency room, this hurts so bad. He knew. It was like all of a sudden, light bulbs were going off and the sirens were blaring, and he was like, crap, I don't know what's going on, but for her to say that I need to take you to the emergency room, it's gotta be bad, because I don't like going to the doctors, I don't like going to the hospital, I definitely don't like going to the emergency room, and I definitely don't like going to the emergency room of the hospital that I work at, because the people there know who you are. So, long story short, I ended up going to the hospital. I stayed the night in the ER, ended up I'm on a gurney. I'm being drugged left and right because they don't know what's going on with me, but I know that I have to have all sorts of imaging done, lots of lab testing done. I had to have a lot of stuff done to try to figure out what was wrong with me, and they just could not figure it out. So they wheel me out of my room, and as I'm heading upstairs, which I work in a hospital, I'm a data person for a hospital, and I know that when you go upstairs, when you leave the ED and go upstairs, that means you're probably becoming an inpatient. But nobody had told me that. So the guy who was wheeling my bed, you know, Jason's following us, but the guy who's wheeling my bed, I say to him, hey, am I becoming an inpatient? And I don't know if it was his job to say anything or not, but I was curious, I wanted to know. And he said, oh yeah, I don't know what's the matter with you, but we're bumping all the surgeries because you're in surgery first thing in the morning. And I was like, oh, okay. I wish somebody would say something to me, but all right, okay, I'm having emergency surgery, yay. So I don't know if it was his job to tell me all of that, but that's how I found out, was like the guy pushing my bed up to my hospital room. And long story short, I ended up having an emergency surgery, and what was happening was I had an intestinal blockage high in my intestines, and it was so bad that it ended up causing both of my intestines to flip over onto themselves, and they were causing a bend. And that was why I was having so much pain all that time, was because food wasn't passing. It was terrifying. My doctor came in and said, you know, if you would have waited a couple more hours, you probably would have died. Like, you wouldn't have made it. It was that serious. Which is terrifying, right? Like, that's just super scary. Well, something happened to me when I got that diagnosis, when I realized, you know, I'd had it in my head that this was probably not the best thing that I had done. This gastric bypass probably wasn't for me, but I had done it, so now I had to figure out how to do it, you know, to live with this new body that I have. But finding out that it was that emergency surgery happened because I did not heal well from my first surgery. I realized in that moment that I actually did something that could have caused me to die. Like, I did something on purpose. Like I kept saying, you know, don't worry about me, I'm okay. I did the surgery on purpose. I did this to myself on purpose. So if I'm hurting, it's my own fault. I did it to myself on purpose. But to realize that surgery I had done 9 months prior was the thing that if I would have waited any longer, it would have killed me. Kind of, it knocked my world off of its axis. And it really caused me to mentally like spiral. I felt like I was out of control of everything. My anxiety shot through the roof. I really didn't know how to cope. I wasn't coping well. I don't really remember the hospital stay. I don't remember who came to stay with me. I'm sure that my husband was there because my husband would never leave my side. But honestly, I don't remember really much anything about that at all. Except the next week, I had left the hospital And the next week I was watching two of my nieces. We have auntie nights every once in a while. And two of my nieces were spending the night for auntie night. And auntie night is usually like, I take them out for pizza, or we go swimming, or we watch movies, or we do our nails, or we play with our hair, whatever it is. But it's basically me getting to play with my nieces and being a kid again. And like, I just love hanging out with them. So that's what auntie night was. So a week later, I was having auntie night with my kiddos. And we were having an excellent night. We were just having such a great time. But I don't know what time it was, 2 or 3 in the morning. I ended up waking up and I am burning. I'm on fire. My skin is on fire from the tip of my head all the way down to the bottom of my feet. My skin is on fire. I don't know what's going on. And every time I scratched or rubbed or touched anything, it would get worse. The fire would intensify and I just couldn't get it to stop. So I called my sister-in-law, one of the girls' mama, and I called her and I said, Sissy, I don't know what's the matter, and I hate to cut auntie night short, but something is wrong and I need you to come get the girls because I have to go to the emergency room. When my sister-in-law came to get the girls, she takes one look at me and she says, honey, you are covered in hives. And I don't know if I'm just new or naive or, you know, I didn't really know what hives were. I was like, oh, okay, well, how do I make them go away? And she's like, you're gonna have to go to the hospital. So I end up going to the emergency room and I get readmitted again because I'm covered head to toe in hives. So I'm heavily medicated, I'm in a lot of pain, I don't really know what's happening, blah, 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 blah. And I know that sounds all very like melodramatic, and that was 3 years ago. That was 4 years ago and then 3 years ago, honestly. But from that second surgery where I felt like my world had gotten tipped off of its axis and I was just this random mass floating around and felt like I really had no control over anything because this body that I have was causing me so much grief. I realize today, I realize looking back, I never actually dealt with any of that. Like I didn't like fix it back then. And I've just been really trying to figure out how to live in this little bubble of hell that my body was now going to create for myself because this was my new normal and this was the way I was supposed to be because I had made this bad choice to have this surgery done. And so I just felt like I need to figure out how to live in this bubble of badness because this is just what I'm going to deal with for the rest of my life. My body's going to fail me. My body's going to betray me. And that was just going to be the way that it was going to be. When I left the hospital, I was told that my hives had started because I was probably a carrier of a gene that you get hereditarily, but for most people it usually sits dormant in your body. And it's not until you have a moment of great stress that causes this gene to activate. And once this gene activates, you're probably going to have to deal with these hives for the rest of your life, or whatever it is that the gene triggers. For me, it was hives. And so you're going to have to deal with that for the rest of your life. And I thought, oh, shit, like, thanks a lot, like, thanks. So, you know, I started taking lots of, I ended up taking anxiety medication. And then I was having trouble sleeping. I couldn't fall asleep because I became an insomniac. I couldn't fall asleep any longer. And then if I did fall asleep, I would wake up in the middle of the night. And so I was not only on anxiety medication because my life in general was stressful, the job I had was extremely stressful. The amount of work that we were being asked to do, it was very unrealistic. I just felt like, okay, so my bubble of hell is getting a little bit dirtier and messier and not quite as, but you're not supposed to like your work. You're not supposed to be happy and fulfilled there. Your work is just supposed to pay for your real life, and that's your pretend life, and this is your real life. Well, the stress had gotten so bad that my husband at one point, and this was probably like a year later. Now, mind you, my husband is the most laid back, easygoing, whatevs kind of guy you would ever meet. But there was a discussion that we had where he finally said, the stress that your job is causing you is too much. You're either going to have to choose your job or you're going to have to choose me. You have to make the decision because I can't watch you deteriorate the way that you're deteriorating because you're in such a high stress position and you're not willing to like back away from it. Well, that's huge, especially for my husband to say something because my husband doesn't ever ask for anything. He never like, you know, he doesn't do that. He's so like, whatever makes you happy, baby, we'll just make it work. It's no big deal. We'll make it work. So I made the decision that I would leave my job. However, I had some like rules that I had created for myself, that I would feel comfortable leaving this job if I had like these 6 things done. And I'm not sure what the 6 things were, but they were things like, I needed to make sure that all of our debt was paid off, and I needed to make sure I had this much money in an account, and I needed to make sure that I had this kind of a job set up for me before I left, and I had to make sure that I had given this much notice to my coworkers and to my peeps, because as you know, when I work for a company, my people that I work with are the most important thing in my life. I love my people so, so much. And it's not necessarily the work, because I'm really good at something that my brain really hates to do, which seems weird, but when you push and push and push yourself so hard to make your brain figure out how to do this thing that it really hates to do, and then you go so far, you push so far that you not only are really, it understands what it's supposed to do, but then it gets good at it, it's really hard to walk away, especially when the money is really good and the benefits are great and you realize you're in demand, like people want you. However, I was able to get this list of whatever criteria I had in place. I was able to get all of those things met. And I ended up leaving the hospital. And it ended up, I left the hospital and I went into a 3-month contracting job, which meant I basically commuted to work for 3 months. I also loved the team that I had when I was there. I worked really hard for them. I wanted to always give 110%. That's who I am. I always want to give 110% of who I am. Even to these videos, I want to give 110% of myself to these videos, because if they're not important, I shouldn't be doing them. So that's kind of how I approach everything in my life. Now, for those of you who are like me, you realize that that can be exhausting sometimes. It can be exhausting sometimes if you don't absolutely love what it is that you're doing, even though I'm good at it now. So I took the 3 months of contracting work, and the point of doing that was, 1, to prove to myself that I could do it, and 2, because you make such good money as a contractor, I wanted to just hoard as much money as I possibly could so that I could take a month off of work. Like my husband had said, what is the matter with you? Why can't you like take 1 month off of work and just breathe? Well, I had never taken time off from work since I was 12 years old. I started working when I was 12. And I've always worked. I just didn't know how to stop. He and I had agreed to that I would take 1 month off of work. Now that was really super, super duper hard for me, because I felt like I was my work. I didn't really have anything else. My work was it. I would come home, crash and burn, wake up the next morning, go to work really, really hard, come home, crash and burn, wake up the next morning, work really, really, really hard, come home, crash and burn. It was this weird cycle that I had gotten myself in, but it was a cycle that I had been in for now 16 years. It's a cycle that I've been in for a really long time. But the thing that made it possible for me to do that was my husband had said to me, I don't care if you have to go home and crawl into bed for that whole entire month and all you do is lay in bed and cry your ass off. And I have to like do all the chores and bring you food in bed. I don't care. I just want you to get healthy and I just want you to be happy. That is the kind of man I'm married to. I love this man dearly. So I went into my 1 month with that as the idea. Now, if my husband had his way, I would be taking 6 months off of work, not 1 month off of work. And because I set myself up in such a way, and he helped me set us up in such a way that all of our debt was paid off and we had this little nest egg, that I would be able to take 6 months off of work. But the 1 month was all I was willing to commit to. And that first month was really hard. I did a lot of crying. I did a lot of, what the hell have I done with myself? I just ruined my entire life. I will never be able to get back in this job again. Maybe I was a fraud. Maybe I wasn't as good as I thought I was. Maybe nobody's ever gonna want me again. All the lies your brain tells you when you're freaking out, essentially. So, and there were days that I tested Jason to say, hey baby, I know I've been home all day and I know I really haven't done anything, but would you bring dinner? And sure enough, he'd bring dinner. Or I'd say, hey baby, I'm having a bad day and I told you I was gonna get all laundry done today, but I don't wanna. So yeah, how do you feel about that? And he'd be like, it's all good. I'll make sure that whatever I need for tomorrow is washed and it's all good, you know? Like he was really, really awesome. And my 1 month off ended up being 6 months off, and it actually turned into the best 6 months of my entire life, because it was the first time in my adult life where it forced me to hang out with myself. it forced me to figure out what it is that I want to do and what made me happy and who do I want to spend time with and what do I want to spend my time doing. And it was just such a luxurious time. Like, it was such a gift. It really was. It was such a blessing. It was such a gift. Well, money runs out. Things happen. Life happens. You know as well as I know. Life happens. Things happen. And I needed to go back to work. If I didn't go back to work, I was going to lose our condo. And they were going to repossess it. And now I say they're going to repossess it, and they probably repossessed it like 6 months to a year from now, because I had only missed 1 or 2 payments. But to me, that was like the world was crashing down around my ears, and I just could not handle the pressure that this situation was then putting on myself. And now, mind you, I had never dealt with the fact that my world had fallen off of its axis. I never dealt with any of that. And I never dealt with the mourning that had to happen, because this weight loss surgery that was supposed to save my life really was a thing that almost killed me. And then not only that, but after surgery, I started gaining weight. And I didn't lose weight again. I just started gaining weight, and it's been kind of slow and gradual. And I'm still about 60 pounds away from where I used to be, but I feel like I'm back to where I was because I'm tired all the time. I don't really feel like I have a lot of energy. I don't feel up, you know, even though I am up. I'm a naturally very optimistic person. I'm a very happy person. I'm very much a person who wants to give of myself to those around me. I feel that, you know, your heart is a muscle, but I feel like it's the muscle that controls all the energy that you have and that you are, and that it shoots out energy to all the people around you. Like, my heart can speak to your heart, and my heart can gift you some of my good juju, and vice versa. Well, that's who I am naturally, so that's something that is very important to me. But being tired, you kind of want to hide your heart, and you want to hide your good juju because you're so busy just trying to like breathe, you know. So anyways, another tangent, of course. I ended up going back to work. I ended up going back to the same hospital, went to a different group of people, a different department, a department that I really felt like I would fit in really well. It was a different role, so it wasn't supposed to be the same role that I was leaving. So I really felt like it was someplace that I could sit for the next 6 months to a year to 2 years to 5 years to 10 years, you know, that I could be happy there. And that job really, really quickly turned into something I didn't want it to be. And I'm saying this out loud to you for the first time, because this is something I've shared with my husband, but I really haven't shared with many people. But this job turned into my old position. It literally, they had me doing the exact same tasks I did in my old position with the exact same job title, the exact same role, the exact same everything as this old position. So even though I had left to get away from this, I had come back in thinking I was going to do something completely different, something more up my alley, more like project management, more like, you know, that type of stuff, which I love that. I love making lists and checking things off and making sure that we're all being accountable. And yeah, that is totally right up my alley. This other thing that I'm doing really hurts my brain. My brain really hates it, although I'm really good at it. I can figure it out, but it takes a lot of energy out of me to get that right. This thing over here, I'm super easy. This is what I do. This is what I do in my free time. I organize things. I like break things down from big goals down to little goals, and I like timeline them out and I graph them. I am totally weird that way. I really, really am. So what I'm telling you, about 6 months ago, I think my sister-in-law from Arizona was up. Her name's Alex. And when Alex comes up, she moves into my sister-in-law Nettie's house. And when she moves into Nettie's house, then I call Nett and say, hey, I've got my suitcase. I'm moving in. Is that all right? And she's like, come on over, baby. And we do. My husband and I and our little Sophie girl, we literally move up to my sister-in-law's house for the whole time my other sister-in-law is there. And it is like a great big old summer party that just happens, and it's so much freaking fun. The thing about Alex, my sister-in-law in Arizona, I can be absolutely 100% totally raw with her. Like, this is how I describe it. When I come home from work, the first thing that I do is I pop my bra off. Like, as soon as my bra is off, I'm not leaving the house again. I'm not taking visitors. I'm not going out the door. I am home, and I'm home for the night, okay? So what I always say is that Alex is one of those people that if I have just popped my bra off and she comes to the door and I see her, I'm gonna open the door and say, hey, come on in, get in here. And braless, we can be like close, right? You know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing to hide from her. She's just very lovey, and I just love her dearly, and I feel like I can really confide in her. So I think what had happened was I made the realization that when my world fell off its axis, when it was knocked off of its axis, I had never really dealt with any of that. And for some reason, like the light bulb went off, the puzzle went together, and I finally figured out what I was seeing, but I didn't know how to like fix it. I just knew that I had a lot of stress in my life, and my health was starting to suffer because I was gaining weight, I was getting more tired. I have a tendency to be tired all the time. I don't really have a day where I don't say, God, I'm so tired. Man, I am so tired. I am so tired. And the way that I combat that is either by caffeining up, or, AKA my Dutch brothers, or I load myself with so much sugar just to stay going, and then when I let myself crash and burn, it's usually at my house, and I crash and I burn. So 6 months ago, I was talking to Alex, and she says, you know what, that's not normal. Like, what you're feeling, that doesn't have to be that way. That's not normal. You don't have to deal with this as your new normal, because there's things out there that can help you. And so long story short, I say that, but this is like the world's longest video. But long story short, I ended up going, you know, my sister-in-law helped me, Lynette helped me get testing done. I had brain scans done. I had like imaging done, and labs, and like psychology things. And I was just doing a lot of like, help me, can somebody help me? I just need to know what's wrong with me. And for the first time in my life, instead of just throwing medication at me, because that's kind of what had happened, and what was happening again was that people were throwing like anxiety medication at me, and try this sleeping medication and this other sleeping medication, and I know you're taking this anxiety medication, but try this anxiety medication as well. Oh, you're ADD, let's throw this other medication at you as well. And this week was the week that I've gotten little like pieces of the puzzle solved, like little pieces of the diagnosis all put together. Like this is how I figured out, like I was told I was ADD. And there's, I'm being told that I have OCD, which that doesn't surprise me. It's not usually like out of control, but the diagnosis that I got this week that really kind of freaked me out a little bit was I have adrenal fatigue syndrome. Now, adrenal fatigue syndrome is something I've only started hearing about this year. I didn't really know what it was, but I have, there's a woman online that I follow, and I really love and respect her. And she deals with adrenal fatigue, and so I've been listening to her all year talk about all the different things she's been doing to like try to, you know, make herself feel better and take care of herself. And as soon as I got that diagnosis, I almost felt like this weight had been lifted off my shoulders, because when you are dealing with so much stress and so much anxiety and being told that this is your new norm, you think that you're going crazy, like something is like off about you, and not, you know, you're odd. Like I've always known I was different, but I really felt like I was broken, like something was really broken about me, and I felt like that was such a huge like character flaw, and it really hurt me to know that I was broken. But getting this diagnosis of adrenal fatigue syndrome really makes me feel like, oh, okay, all right. So all these things that I think I'm feeling, I'm actually feeling. It's not like in my head, it's not psychosomatic. I really am tired. And the reason I'm tired is because like my adrenal glands aren't functioning properly, and my cortisol is flooding my systems at the wrong time of day. My cortisol floods in the middle of the night, which is why when I do fall asleep, I pop up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm up. I can't figure out how to go back to sleep. And then, you know, when my cortisol levels start to lower again, then I fall back to sleep, but that's usually about the time the alarm is going off and I've got to get up and go to work, and I'm exhausted and kind of feel like I'm just dragging. And I just always have felt like something is off, especially since that surgery. Well, in talking to my team, I found out that the way that adrenal fatigue syndrome works is it's when it will happen to you. It will happen to you if you live with chronic stress long enough. You know, people do that all the time, especially in the American culture. It's very go, 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 dog eat dog, you know, like the rat race. But living with that kind of chronic stress and having cortisol flood your system so much, you know, your body is a beautiful thing, and it has the ability to like clean all that out and take care of itself. But if it happens for so long, And then, especially if you have like something like I had with my emergency surgery where this was the thing that was going to kill me, like if I would have waited a couple hours, I would have been dead. That type of stress and anxiety that gets triggered in your body, it then pushes your adrenals over the edge, and then they don't know how to cope, and your body doesn't regenerate itself like it's supposed to. It doesn't take care of itself the way that it's supposed to. It basically goes into like you're in fight or flight mode 24/7, which is how I've been living. So what this means for me is that I'm finding that, as you know, my position has been eliminated at my job, and I have 2 more weeks left of work. But what I'm finding is that this might be the biggest blessing that has ever happened to me, because for the first time in my life, I'm being forced to stop. This is not me negotiating with myself and making sure that this little checklist of things that are done has to be done. This is me realizing that the universe is saying, you will stop, or I will make you stop. And you will take care of yourself. You will love yourself, you will take care of yourself. And for me, what that means is I have to find out what my body is naturally like sensitive to. So over the next month or so, I'm going to be doing a lot of different self-care things. Like I'll be doing gentle exercise, because if you have adrenal fatigue, a lot of times if you exercise too hard or too long in a day, it will actually wipe your ass out. Like it doesn't energize you like it does for a normal person. It actually wipes you out. So I'll be doing a lot of on-purpose gentle exercising, with the realization that this is not about me getting skinny or me getting like super athletic. This is just about me getting better. My diet is going to completely change, completely. I am basically cutting out gluten out of my diet and dairy out of my diet. Not that I have anything against those 2 things, but I need to figure out what my body is sensitive to, because something is causing me more grief. And I don't know if it's gluten or dairy, but I've always had issues with dairy. I'm just going to cut them both out until I'm ready to add one of them back in and see how my body reacts. Basically, I'm having a come to Jesus meeting with myself. I need to figure out what's going on inside of there. I'm also changing to a diet that's much more fruit and vegetable specific, vegetable and some fruit specific, like very heavy in fruits and vegetable. This is what I'm telling myself. I'm going to fruit, veg, nuts, beans, seeds, lean protein. I'm cutting out most gluten, or I'm cutting out gluten, and I'm cutting out dairy. Dairy is going to be really hard because I really love me some cheese. I don't know, do they do non-dairy cheese? And if they do non-dairy cheese, is it good? Does it melt? I don't know. If you know, tell me down in the comment section, because I am a little bit freaked out about this. This is a lot. This is a lot of changes for me. So it's going to be a process, and in all honesty, I don't know if I seem really calm about it, but I'm kind of freaked out. This is huge. Like, there will be no more, I had a bad day, honey, can you make me some spaghetti? Or honey, I've had a really bad day, mama could use some fried chicken. Or like, those are my stereotypical American favorite comfort food type things. I can't just pop out and go have pizza when I want. I need to figure out how to like do this again and renegotiate how all of this works. So that is what I wanted to share with you. I know that was a lot. I felt like I had to like tell you the backstory so that you would understand where I'm at now. But if you feel like something is going on with you that's not quite right, ask for help. Ask for help, and keep asking for help until somebody takes you seriously and you get the help that you need. If there's anything I could take away from my story, that is what I would tell you. I feel like if I would have spoken up sooner, you know, before the emergency surgery, maybe I could have caught it earlier. Or maybe if I had really addressed the anxiety that was really out of control, maybe I could have gotten help sooner. But I also know that when I first started asking for help, people weren't taking me seriously. I even, this is hard for me to share because when I found this out, this kind of like stabbed me in the gut, but I had even gotten from my second surgery, or my second hospital stay where I was covered in hives, someone had written in my medical chart that I was a drug seeker, which anybody who knows me knows that I'm I'm the furthest thing away from a drug seeker you could possibly find. And to hear that out loud, said to me out loud, really like tore a piece of me, and it just really scared me. It hurt me. So it made me afraid to ask for help because I thought, well, maybe it's all in my head. Maybe, you know, I'm just making this up. Maybe I'm just being a big baby, or maybe I'm being a drama queen. I sometimes have a tendency to be that way. You know, I'm hypersensitive. Sometimes we can get a little passionate, good or bad. It's the truth. So I would say to you, if you are out there in the world and something is going on with you and you don't know what it is and you know something's not quite right, ask for help. And if the first person tells you an answer that you're not comfortable with, ask the next person. Get a second opinion, get a third opinion, get a fourth opinion, get a team of people to help you. Get help. There's no reason that we should be going through any of this by ourselves. And there's no reason that we need to be told that it's just in our heads that we're just making this crap up, because that's what happened to me, and it really kind of freaked me out. And I thought, especially in the last 6 months when my job has gotten really stressful again, that I thought I was going crazy. And you know, I have a lot of mental health issues in my family, and my whole life I've kind of been like duck and weave, duck and weave, duck and weave. If I just keep ducking and weaving, the crazy won't hit me, it won't get me. And there was a moment in this last 6 months that I said to myself, like I even had to like confess to my husband, I think I'm going crazy. I think that the mental health that has fallen through both lines of my family has now caught me because I'm going crazy. No, I'm not going crazy. What's happening is I have so much anxiety going on in my life, and I'm not dealing with it, and I'm not taking care of myself so that I can mentally deal with it. It's gonna bite me in the hind end. Now it's doing it, and now I know. Now I'm awake. Now I see my life with clear eyes. Not only am I gonna have to exercise every day very gently, I'm gonna have to eat better. I'm gonna eat whole organic foods to the best of my ability. My husband always says, you don't have to like it, you just have to eat it. Which I get it, okay, I'm with you. And I have to be more religious about, you know, my writing in my journal and doing my art as meditation. I have to be much more religious and focused about that and purposeful about that. And I also need to be much more purposeful about my daily meditation practices. All of these things I think will help get my life back into balance and my body back into wholeness. Because I might be broken, I might be a little cracked, I might be a little damaged, but all of the pieces are there. I just have to realize that some of my pieces might be dangling off a little bit, and I need to like tie them back into place, and I need to decoupage them back on, and I'll have to washi tape them to decorate the little scars that are there. But I'm still a whole 100% person. I just need to figure out how to function now in a way that's much more authentic and honoring to my spirit. So that was my Cuppa Chat for the day. I know it was a lot. I don't even really have a question for you today. I always try to think of something to ask you. But what I do say to you, this is my take action challenge for you. If something is going on with you that you feel like you need help with, even if it's like, I don't know, I cannot seem to get my laundry done. Girlfriend, can you please just come support me as I get the laundry done, or come keep me company, or whatever it is. Doc, I'm not feeling good and I don't know what's the matter with me. Please help me. My take action challenge for you is that you get up, you go to the phone and you take action. Call somebody, ask for help, make an appointment, do whatever it is you need to do to make sure that you are okay, because you are so worth it. So this is probably the world's longest video, and I don't know how much of this I'm gonna edit out, but I just want to let you know I love you so much. I so appreciate you guys coming and listening to me ramble on. I just love you guys immensely, and this is, you know, one of my absolute favorite healing mechanisms. I just want to let you guys know so much. Thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate you, and I really love these Cuppa Chats. I don't think that they'll always be like this deep and heavy, but I want them to be real. If they're not real, and if I'm not truly sharing myself with you, then there's no point in doing them. And that is the point, is that, you know, I want to put myself out there and share pieces of me with you, because I know that my story can help some of you out there. So that is what I'm here for. And as always, I'm having a terrible time saying goodbye, but I want to let you know I love you so much, and I will see you very soon. Thank you. Bye for now.